So we're going to be talking about self-care this morning. And as I've thought about this session over the course of the last couple of weeks that we've been planning, like, why is self-love so difficult? And why is it so hard for us to be, fully into 100% of who we are? Is there something holding us back? And I've always been really fascinated by ancestral patterning. And that is something that, I've thought about with my own family. It's like, is there, there's this cord going through our family. Is there something in that that's holding me back? Can I release it? And that's why I'm so excited to have Amy Schuber join us this morning. Amy, welcome. So good to see you this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. And what a beautiful community. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everybody. It's so wonderful to see you all.
It's so exciting. I put Amy's bio in the email that you received this morning, so I'm not going to talk about all of her amazing work that she does, but I want to just go ahead and get started because I think this is going to be a very juicy conversation today. And so, Amy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey to self-love?
Gosh, self-love is a daily journey for all of us, right? It's not something that we flip the switch on and suddenly all of a sudden we're like, oh, I'm so in love with myself. It is a constant journey for all of us. And as I was feeling into, this community and myself with all of this, my journey has come to this moment of, wow, self-love to me means being fully self-expressed, fully in my essence of who I am. And of course, we learn to be who we are, right? We've either inherited something or we've had a conditioning. And I think as we grow older, we start unraveling some of that conditioning to come back to ourselves. And so for me, I think in my 30s is when I started looking around and saying, wow, okay, I went to college, I got a job out of college, I moved to a big city, I'm doing the corporate thing, and I hit the world. And then I was like, wow, I don't like this. This doesn't serve me. There were parts of it I loved and parts of it I didn't love. And I think for me in my 30s is when I started looking at my life and recognizing what was working and what wasn't working. And I believe that self-expression and that self-love comes from noticing what's working and not working, and peeling away what's not working. Okay, I was doing the things I was conditioned to do, and now, it doesn't feel that good. What do I want? And for me, my journey was actually taking a look at what was working and not working. And for me, it was leaving the corporate job and getting to know myself. And honestly, doing that about 15 years ago put me on the path that lands me in the work I'm doing now, which I was always really wanting to be on purpose with my work and my life. And so to be in the work that was feeling so draining and unfulfilling and being overlooked for all the hard work I was doing, like working all-nighters and then not getting recognized for it. Like, wow, there's got to be more to life than this, right? And it felt like when I started looking at it, it was like, wait, I was choosing all this, but I don't know why I was choosing all of this. And it wasn't serving my heart. And I feel like now is the time for all of us to just connect with ourselves and take a look around and be really true to our essence. And it's a practice. It's a daily practice to find that love for ourselves.
So, Amy, we all have different levels of self-awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get in touch with those feelings? Like you mentioned some, that you have identified, but how would you encourage people to look at themselves, go inward, and to really start identifying, what self-love and self-care means to them?
Yeah. So I feel like we've got to start with having unconditional love for ourselves. And that might feel like a big thing to bite off, right? Like, oh, unconditional love. Do I have unconditional love? Well, notice the conversation you're having in your head on a daily basis for yourself, right? Like the first part is awareness, having self-awareness. And self-awareness is noticing how you're feeling, how you're being, how you're responding or reacting in the world based on what's going on, right? Like for me, it was, okay, I'm no longer fulfilled in this job. What am I going to do about it? So we can start asking ourselves some questions. Everyone being in this conversation is an act of self-love because you're allowing yourself to explore. So it's this self-discovery, and it's just being in this exploration of yourself. It's getting to know yourself again, because as we know, as we grow and change and evolve and get older, you know, we're bouncing around sometimes like a pinball in the pinball machine. But I think what we really want to be is the pinball machine, right?
Absolutely.
We want to be the solid foundation, bouncing other things around, being the co-creator of our life and not being the one bounced around. And so it's coming back to that solid foundation of who we are. And if you don't have an answer, like, who am I? What am I doing? However you define yourself, if those words are outside of yourself, like you're defining yourself by your job, or that you're a mother or a father or an aunt, and they're all outside of you, come back to who you are and define yourself from within. And so
I call it your true self, your true self, or I always called it, you know, who is the true me? Like, who is the true me that I'm trying to find? And I know for me personally, you know, as a career woman, I got so lost for so many years up through my 40s in my career, and that's all I thought about. And
yeah.
it's been so nice to get more grounded into who I truly am and to show up that way every day. I think this is a really good time for everyone to put in the chat, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in the self-love, that self-love identifying number? So let's see, I will start. So we have a 4, a 9, an 8, a 6, 6.5, 10. That's fabulous. Congratulations. 4 to 5. So you can see that there's such a broad range. Amy, do you want to talk about that? Oh, 10 plus. I love that answer.
Love
Wow.
that.
Can you talk a little bit about, you know, like this chart of self-love and, you know, where you fit and how can you start moving up?
Yeah. So it's so that you have a very conscious community. I mean, if you can answer the question, even if you're saying you're a 4, you're conscious, you're aware of, okay, I've got some practice, I've got some work to do, I've got some connecting to do with myself. So some of the things you can do is just having the self-reflection. How does a situation make me feel? It could be the career situation, it could be the family situation, it could be your role, whatever that role is. How is this making me feel? Me. Not about how it makes other people feel or how I show up for people, but how does it make me feel? This self-reflection energy. And then how, you know, how are you responding or reacting to people or the situations? How do those people make me feel? You know, colleagues, friends. Sometimes we're pulling around friends that no longer serve us and we've got to, you know, exit the building, and it's okay.
Just push the delete button. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And, or just graciously pull yourself away from a group that's no longer serving you. That is okay. And giving yourself permission to do that, giving yourself permission to say, hey, this isn't working for me anymore. And I'm going to go this way. And when you give yourself permission, people will be rattled by you, you know, and that's okay. But notice if you're doing it to please them or to please you. You should always be doing it to please you, right? And then notice how, you know, if you're rattled, that's okay. There's work there, right? And so I think when you start assessing and asking these questions and what you can do to change, like, okay, can I change the situation? Sometimes you can't just leave a job. Sometimes you're in a group with colleagues that maybe don't serve you, but you can do things internally to change and create some change for yourself. But it starts with the exploration. And once you start exploring, the opportunities will come to you. And I think a lot of this comes with your own creativity as well. So going back to yourself, like, what lights you up and how can you play and be more fun with yourself? Can you, you know, is it about cooking more, or is it about doing art or dancing or, you know, meditating, whatever the things are that serve you? Are you doing enough of that to nurture yourself? Because the more you nurture yourself in the play, the more you're going to connect with yourself and then really feel what's serving you and not serving you.
And Angie, let's talk a little bit about negative self-talk here. I mean, that is so prevalent for all of us that we talk worse about ourselves than we would do about anyone else. So how do we kind of curb that instinct to be on the negative side versus the more positive side?
Yeah. So again, it's noticing. Me too. I have, my biggest critic is me.
Yep.
Right here, you know, like I'm my biggest critic. We all have that. So noticing how strong that voice is for you, how often that voice is for you, and getting into like your center. So one of the things, you know, like a tip about self-love, give yourself that 5 minutes of connection in the morning. You don't have to go into like a deep meditation or have some practice. That's not what I'm talking about. You open your eyes in the morning, put your hands in your heart, and just say good morning to yourself. Notice, give yourself that moment of, okay, good morning. I'm waking up to the world. How am I feeling right now? I just rested, or I had a bad night's rest. Notice that voice, but nurture yourself, connect with yourself, build the relationship with yourself. So when that negative self-talk starts up, you can be like, okay, I hear you, and I'm going a different path. But it's building that relationship with yourself. That is a part of the self-love. So that self-expression, when it's time for that, can be really strong and really connected to you and your voice. And that self-talk and that negative voice comes when we're probably getting challenged, or we're feeling worried, or we're feeling stressed, or we're anxious. So it's really about noticing when, and then the situations that arise around that is something you can address as well. Again, it's awareness and noticing, and not being
I think,
hard on yourself when it does come up, because we all do it.
I mean, one of the things that I do as a little ritual every day is I light a candle when I start work or when I wake up. And when I think about something negative, I try to put that into the candle because there's so much light, and just let it burn away. It's
Yeah.
been a very nice ritual for me, and something that's been very powerful, particularly during this last year of the pandemic,
Mhm.
just to have some ritual that draws me back to self every day. So Amy, as we're talking about self-love, will you give us some other tips? We talked about, the one of simply looking at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I know you have a couple of others, but I wanted to talk about that one specifically because one day I realized how few times I actually looked at myself in the mirror, eye to eye, and like, wow, you're okay. You've got this. But I mean, that's really difficult for people.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a simple thing that I don't think any of us do. And if you do it, I'm so proud of you and applaud
I'm
you.
so proud of you.
Right. So it's looking in the mirror, in eye to eye with yourself, and telling yourself that you love you. I love you. Does anyone do that? Do we
Can
look
you
in the
put it
mirror?
into the chat if you do that or not?
Yeah, let us know.
Excuse me.
Because if you don't do that, I think it's a really great practice, because it's like a temperature gauge. Look at yourself in the mirror. Know if you're doing it and you feel good about it, amazing. If you feel like even talking about it makes you feel uncomfortable, okay, notice that. Notice if it brings emotions up, thinking about it. Or if you actually do it, does it bring emotions up? And it feels raw, it feels edgy, it feels like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Yeah, you tried, but you gave up quickly. A lot of you have done it. So it's a practice to see yourself. So this is the part about self-awareness. You have to see yourself. Like how many times do we get ready and go off in the day and it's like, gosh, I didn't even look at myself today. I've done that. You
So
look
many
like,
times
wait,
every
what just,
day.
yeah, yeah. So this act of looking at yourself and saying, I love you. I mean, it could be a practice when you wake up and say, okay, I love you. Let's face the day. That's a direct connection with you, and it will ground you and create a foundation. So if you're not ready to look in the mirror and say, I love you, do it just to yourself, with your own space, or try it. And then notice how you feel. And then those energies that are coming up, notice if you feel rattled, if you feel like unworthy, if you feel those emotions, and release them. Another act of self-love is letting yourself observe yourself and process those emotions. We have been so conditioned to shove it down, suppress it, not feel it. So if you do look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, this is hard, I feel emotional, I'm going to cry. Let yourself feel that expression, let your heart open and feel those emotions so it can process out. You don't need to know the why around your emotional state. You just need to be present with it. And that is a self-love act, because we're not here to stuff everything down. We're here to express it, release it, allow it. So if you can be in a state of observing yourself, and whether it's looking in the mirror saying I love you, or in the car driving and you're having an experience and like, whoa, I feel really interesting, rattled, angry, notice it. You can label it if you're letting it go, right? But don't label it and stuff it or
Mhm.
act on it. Allow it to process. That is a really big act of self-love. So, because we're not here to hold on to everything, we're here to release things and let them go. And that is so good for our body to release. So that I love you in the mirror is a really beautiful
Mhm.
practice.
So
Engage.
I invite everyone for this week and beyond to take those items that Amy just discussed and really look at, I mean, really look at yourself and have grace with yourself and see how that feels. It's a completely different way of being. And that piece of self-love brings you back to self so much quicker than if you just leave it out here lingering and you don't deal with it. So I invite you to do that. So Amy, I want to change the conversation and really start talking about ancestral patterning. This is something that I've been really fascinated with for some time. But I think it would be great if you would give us a definition of what that means and what that means to you specifically, and then we'll get into more detail about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason I got interested in it is because I was doing the self-exploration, right? When I left corporate America, I started getting healings and asking for support and being interested in like, okay, what's blocking me from being on purpose? And I was exploring and doing all those things as I was landing in the coaching world and open to all that. And one of the who became my teacher was ancestral healing. And I didn't even know that was a thing until
Mhm.
someone, I was introduced to someone and I started understanding it. So we are all born with inherited trauma. If you think about everything our ancestors have gone through, I mean, I think everybody's ancestors have gone through some sort of trauma. And trauma can be defined in big ways and little ways. We can define our trauma by someone making a comment that hurt our feelings when we were a child, or something, like an accident or other traumas that we would like, oh, wow, that's a real big trauma. Slavery, all the things that are like, wow, okay, how do you get over that? But we are all born with inherited trauma. And so if you're noticing in your life that there's like patterns that are running, that you're like, you've done everything possible. It's like, and why does the same situation keep happening?
Mhm.
It might not be your trauma that you're living. And that for me was like, wow, what? How can that be? But that's what it is. Something in this lifetime for you has exasperated the trauma that you're carrying of your family. And what I've come to learn, especially this last year, it's up to be cleared. We're moving into this new age, this
Yep.
new energy, and we're not supposed to be dragging it with us anymore. We are supposed to come back to ourselves. We are supposed
To
to
our
come
full
back to our
self.
essence, to our full
Mhm.
selves as individuals, not family patterning, not all that. We're meant to release that. And so this trauma that we're bringing in, it can be released. And so this is what epigenetics is. Epigenetics is that study of the behaviors and the environment that causes the changes, and I'm sure you might have heard of epigenetics. It's gotten a lot more play and talk. It's been a lot more studied in the past few years. And so this is the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. So yeah, we're born with our DNA, which is not changeable, right?
Mhm.
And then the RNA that's in our body is changeable. So the RNA that's in our body has information tags. The information tags are the traumas that
The
happen.
trauma,
So
the generational
the
trauma.
generational trauma. So this is why we can release it, because it's not in the DNA, but it's in the RNA. So it's a tag in the RNA and we can release that trauma. So what happens is we have trauma, an emotion gets trapped and it gets passed on. It gets passed
Mhm.
on because it's something that is protecting your family. Like, okay, I don't want that to happen again. I never want to feel betrayed again. But with that, it traps and then unfortunately gets passed on. So that betrayal gene, it's not a gene, but that betrayal tag is there. And so we might relive that, or you may not. But it's something to look at in your life, like,
Yep.
whoa, what seems to be working, what seems to be not
Yep.
working, no matter what I try, and so we can clear that.
So Amy, I've talked to people over the years about ancestral patterning in our own family, and one of my family members is actually on today. But it's so rich and it's so deep, and sometimes it's a little dark, and then there's, the positive side too. But many people that I've talked to over the years, they're like, what is ancestral patterning? I don't, I don't have any myself. But if you aren't aware of it personally, is this still something you can heal?
Oh, absolutely. Because we go back generationally, like, at the clearings, it goes back 9 generations, 20 generations. It's like, I don't know what happened in my family 20 generations ago. Or, for instance, like 9 generations comes up a lot in my family
Mhm.
as I do clearings on myself or my family members. I don't know what happened back then. It doesn't mean it won't clear. We can access it and clear it. So you can clear what you don't know is there, because your body will give you the information to share, to release it. So whether you know something big happened or whether you
Mhm.
don't know, you can clear it. You can release those patterns. Absolutely.
Because, okay, so Amy and I had a session a couple of weeks ago, and it was amazing. And one of the things that I was shocked by, Amy, that it did go back 9 generations or 7 generations, and it depended on the topic that we discussed, whether it was on my mom's side or on my dad's side. Now, while I didn't grow up with my dad, there was still parts of him that are a part of me that needed to be clearing. Fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it blew me away. And, since then, you said that, the integration can take, a day, a week, a month. And it has been interesting over the course of the last couple of weeks to see things that have opened up for me because of the releasing, because of the clearing. So I thought it was so interesting because I can identify with, what's happened in the 3 or 4 generations that have been a part of my life, but that 8, 9, 20, like you said, 20 generations. Are people surprised by that? I mean, how have people been impacted by your work, Amy?
People are surprised because we don't talk about going back that far. We don't know we can go
Yeah,
back that far because we don't know what went on.
right.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It definitely makes you want to explore your genealogy, right? To see like,
Yeah,
where
it
did
sure
my people
does.
come from, and when did my family is immigrant, so it's like, when did they immigrate? Was that when that happened, and what happened? So people are surprised, but what it also does is releases these blocks and things that might. So for instance, if you're an entrepreneur, I come from an entrepreneurial family.
Entrepreneurial.
Yeah. So maybe it's a block of money, having too much, like not being able to get past a certain amount because your family member maybe lost all their money and it wasn't safe to have a lot of money, or it was stolen from them. So nobody wants to have that experience of losing everything again. So how that translates is you're not going to make too much because you don't want to lose too much. So that's kind of, it translates that way. It also translates in surprising ways where you feel less triggered by somebody, like if you have a dynamic with a family member that's always sort of and you're just like, I don't know why we don't get along or why we don't like each other, but we always rub each other wrong. The anxiety or the trigger energy there goes away. I've had that very experience with somebody in my family just by clearing like the energies around it, and it's like, wow, that disappeared and dissipated. So
Well,
there's a
so
whole gamut of things that shift.
mhm. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about is forgiveness. Is this a part of the healing as well? And talk to us about what that means when you're trying to forgive 9 generations beforehand. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I think as doing the work, it's a process of acknowledging it. And as you're acknowledging it and releasing it, that's a forgiveness energy, right? Like, we don't need to carry this anymore. We just lay it down, we release it, we let it go. And I believe that's an act of forgiveness, because what's happening is when you're releasing for yourself, you're releasing for all your generations, you're releasing for your children, you're releasing for everybody that came before you, and it like dissipates that tag, let's say, and it
Mhm.
disappears for everybody. And I believe that's an act of forgiveness. Is it conscious forgiveness? Is there a process of forgiveness? Not necessarily, but you can have that. And I believe it's an as you acknowledge it and release it, that to me feels forgiving, because it's doing something for
Mhm.
everybody involved.
So this is a really good question that came from the chat. It's like, how can we do this if we have no connection or knowledge of our family, current or previous generations? Could you discuss that?
Yeah, it's because it's in your DNA and RNA. And so it's the muscle testing and kinesiology is a part of the process. So I am like the conduit for this energy, right? I am testing your body. Your body's telling me exactly what it is. So we don't necessarily know that I don't necessarily know that everybody in my family has blue eyes, but I have the gene of blue eyes, right? So like the RNA tags that are coming in, you don't need to know where they came from or why, but your body knows. Your body's carrying those
So,
cells and that energy to
so
really.
Amy, could you talk about muscle testing a little bit? Because I think that some people are very aware of it and others are like, what the heck is muscle testing? So you have your arm up. I mean, or
Yeah.
there's multiple ways to do it, but will you talk about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So muscle testing is kinesiology is muscle testing. It is the act of testing your body for, the yes or no answer of if it's good for you, if it's safe for you. You can do it with so many things. You can learn yourself muscle testing, and you can hold a bottle of a drink in your hand, and you can muscle test to see if it's good for your body. Your body
Or
responds.
vitamins or,
Yeah, or vitamins or anything, literally
pills or
anything.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yep.
a vegetable that you might be having an allergic reaction to, and you can learn muscle testing, and it reads the energy and it tells you yes or no. So you can muscle test from anywhere. You don't have to
Yep.
be in the room with someone because it's energy. So you muscle test the emotions, and that gives you the emotion of basically the tag that needs to be released. So that's how I do it with the ancestral
So
clearings.
I just want to explain this a little bit too, or just show you. So I've had a lot of experience with muscle testing, and so like with my naturopath, for instance, so she will take my arm and say, "Is this good for Joni?" I mean, she has a specific patterning speech that she uses, but literally, if it's okay for me, my body will stay hard. My arm will be solid. Like I cannot move it. If it's not good for me, I cannot hold my arm up. It's a very interesting way to do to know what's happening in your body, and that your body will tell you. It's kind of out there a little bit for a lot of people, but it's very real and it's very true, right, Amy?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of questions coming in the chat about if you want to address ancestral patterning, what do you need to do?
So I've learned how to do this, and so
Right.
it's that awareness again, right? Recognizing the awareness around what is going on with you, and knowing what it is that's going on, and then wanting to release it. So it's something you can learn. I'm not necessarily teaching how to release it in this
Right.
session,
Right.
but it is something you can be aware of and know what's like aggravating you, what's taking you off purpose, and then, asking for help around it. You can definitely learn it. And so
So
I
one
believe.
of the things, I'll just interrupt here. So one of the things that Amy asked us to do was to provide 3 or 4 things that I wanted to clear. So say, for instance, mine was abundance, because one side of my family didn't have a lot of money, and then the other side that I didn't grow up with has a ton of money. So I wanted to clear that side that didn't have money. So that was one thing for me personally that I wanted to address, along with 3 or 4 things. And then what do you do, Amy?
What do I do? Like the
Yes.
process? Is that what you're asking? Okay. So we get to the question of what you want to clear. And then what we do is we muscle test the question, and I go through a chart of emotions. I land on the emotion that your body gives me, and then we clear it. So, and we also ask if it's inherited. There's also some things that aren't inherited that we trap in our own lifetime in our bodies. So if it's inherited, we test if it's mother, father, how far back. If it's not inherited, we find out what age it was trapped in your body, and we release it from your body. So it goes both ways. And then we do the releasing like that. And you're going to get a little taste of it because we're going to do some
Yes, you
clearing
are.
here. Yeah. So it's a little different because it's not specific and custom to each individual, but it is
Right.
custom to this group because I did do a collective muscle test to see what was going on with you guys.
So I just want to address something in the chat. This is not Reiki. It's completely different than Reiki. But with that, why don't you talk? I'm so excited that Amy is going to share an ancestral patterning group release today. And why don't you talk about, Amy, what you tested last night and the words that came up for our group as a collective?
Oh yeah. So what I tested for this group, so usually I just do it in the clearing, but I'll tell you what they are. So like the word discontent, invisible, frustration, doubting, fear, stress, unworthiness, over responsibility, overwhelm. A lot of that's up for the collective, right? Because a lot of us can identify with that just because it's going on. And specifically, I connected with this community to see what wanted to be cleared today. So those are the words that came up that will clear.
Well, why don't we go ahead and why don't you just take it away? And so we're going to invite you to either turn off your camera and or close your eyes. And why don't you take it away, Amy?
Absolutely. And I saw someone asking what the name of this was. So I'll share. I was trained in the soul awakening method. So that's the process that I'm sharing with you all today. And so, yeah, I would love to invite you to turn off your camera to get comfortable or relax. If you're comfortable with your camera on, that's cool too. And so I really want you to just drop into this energy and take a minute to connect with what you want to get out of this situation, what you want to clear today. Whether I say it or not, you can put some intentions in as well. So sit for a second, connect with yourself, connect with that heart energy that we were just talking about, and just know that this is going to be for your highest good. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So, okay. Here we go. If you can close your eyes and get into a comfortable position, either sitting, I see a lot of you sitting, you can lay down with your feet on the ground, lying down. Take a deep breath in, inhale in and release. Take another deep breath in. Just notice what's going on in your head, your mind, your heart, your body, and release. And take another deep breath in. And in this deep breath, just imagine yourself energetically dropping into your heart center, like you're landing in a lotus flower. You're landing in the most comfortable space for you where you feel safe, where you can safely connect and release what no longer serves you. So I'll go ahead and connect with everybody's energy. So accessing 100% spirit, accessing 100% soul. If you are in agreement with me connecting, accessing, and releasing from you, say yes out loud. Okay, here we go. With the love and intention of the universe, on all levels and dimensions, releasing discontent, releasing this discontent energy that is up, all this regret, this uneasiness, releasing all this displeasure that might be up in your body, releasing all that is right here, right now, from every cell, organ, tissue gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing this discontent energy. And take deep breaths as we're doing this. Just stay with me, stay in your body, and just keep breathing. Okay. With the love and intention of the universe, on all levels and dimensions, releasing this invisible energy, all this invisibility that's showing up for you, whether you're feeling neglected, not important, rejected, just unseen, this isolated energy that might be up, releasing all this isolated energy, this invisible energy, releasing this from every cell, organ, tissue gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing all that is right here, right now, releasing invisible, releasing frustration, releasing with the love and intention of the universe on all levels and dimensions, releasing frustration, letting all this frustration go, whether it's from the past, frustration in the moment, frustration looking into the future, all that is, releasing this frustration energy, maybe this defeated energy that's coming up, this defeated, this discouraged, upset energy, anywhere there's upset or anger or discontent with this frustration energy, releasing all that this is from every cell, organ, tissue gland, meridian, all that go. If you feel sensations in your body, that's perfect. If you feel nothing, that's perfect. Just be with whatever is right here, right now, and keep deep breathing through this. Releasing the doubt, releasing any doubt that's up, whether you're doubting yourself, you're doubting your next move, you're doubting life, you're doubting the world, wherever the doubt is coming up, the self-doubt, doubting others, let's just release all that doubt from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing all that doubt, all the skepticism that's happening, the lack of faith that's activated by that doubt. Let's just deactivate all that that is, the lack of trust. Maybe it's a lack of trust of the world. Maybe it's a lack of trust in yourself or people. Let's just release all that lack of faith and lack of trust, all that self-doubt, and feeling incapable, releasing this feeling of being incapable, whether it's a situation you're facing or people you're facing. Let's just release all that that is from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light being, releasing all that that is. Keep breathing and deep breathing into your body. Let's release fear. There's a lot of fear up on in the world. So let's just release all the fear, deactivating all this fear, flash burning it out of existence, releasing this fear, releasing this panic and anxiety. It might be yours, it might be somebody else's, but let's just disconnect you from feeling all the fear, releasing all the fear, letting fear run you, releasing this from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing all this fear. Take another deep breath in. Okay, let's release stress with the love and intention of the universe. On all levels and dimensions, let's release the stress. Stress levels are high, whether it's your own or somebody else's, or you're running stress, releasing stress, disconnecting from stress, releasing all this stress energy right here, right now. Let's just see it like drop off of your body, drop it into the earth. Let Mother Earth receive that, neutralize it, and take it. We're all carrying a lot of stress and burden energy. So let's just release all this burden energy that's up for everyone. Let's just release the stress, take deep breaths as this might be releasing from your body, releasing all that that is. You might be feeling chills, you might be yawning, and you might be experiencing nothing. It's okay, whatever the experience is. Keep breathing, releasing all this stress. Releasing all this unworthiness from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing unworthiness, feeling undeserving, releasing all this unworthiness that's up, releasing all that that is from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing all the unworthiness, releasing and deleting all that that is from every cell in your body, releasing, letting that fall to the earth and be neutralized and absorbed, taking that away from you, releasing all that that is. Okay, with the love and intention of the universe, releasing this over responsibility. A lot of us take on too much responsibility and we take on more responsibility than need be. Releasing that over responsibility, releasing all that over responsibility from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. Releasing all that that is, and deleting any cords that are attached to taking on responsibility from other people that they're not even asking you to, that over responsibility, over control, trying to control something that's really not under your control. So let's just release all that that is from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian, releasing all that that is. Keep breathing. Okay, and let's release overwhelm. We've all experienced overwhelm in the past year, in the moment. We're all having this overwhelm. So let's release overwhelm from your system. Releasing overwhelm from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. Releasing all the overwhelm. If you're receiving it from the outside in or from the inside out, however you're experiencing this overwhelm, let's just release it from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. Flash burning this out of existence like it never existed in the first place. Let's just release all that that is. So let's just release one more time, discontent, flash burning it out, invisible, releasing all that rejection energy. Keep breathing as we release these, releasing frustration, releasing all that doubt, self-doubt, releasing all that that is, all the fear and panic, anxiety. We're just letting it release, releasing from every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. Releasing all this stress energy, all this unworthiness, all this over responsibility and overwhelm, releasing all that that is right here, right now. Okay, and once we release, we're going to replace. So I forgot to tell you that we replace it with energy. So your body can receive something new, something positive in place of what we just released. So it's a nurturing thing. So let's replace inspired. We're going to replace inspired into every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. Releasing or replacing inspired. So you're inspired by you. You're inspired by your heart. You're inspired by your essence. Let's replace knowledgeable. You are knowledgeable, replacing knowledgeable into every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. This calm confidence, let calm confidence wash over you and replace into your system right here and right now. Integrating and replacing a leader role, feeling that leadership in your system, that positive energy of that calm, confident leader that you are, being the leader of your own life and activating that leader in you right here, right now. Activating empowered, integrating and activating this empowered energy into every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. Activating unconditional love, an unconditional love for yourself, this unconditional love, let this wash over you. So that love, that self-love comes easy because there's this natural foundation of unconditional love that's activated right here into every cell, organ, tissue, gland, chakra, light body, and meridian. And let's just activate this golden high vibration of light and love, activating and wash over your system. Keep breathing as we just activate this high vibration of light that's washing over you right here, right now. Activating and nourishing your cells, your body, invigorating your body right here, right now, and always. Okay, so let's integrate this. So let's integrate this healing and repeat after me out loud. I completely integrate and fully receive the energetic shifts that have occurred. And I'll repeat that one more time. I completely integrate and fully receive the energetic shifts that have occurred. And so I'll go ahead and take it from here, connecting your heart, mind, body, and soul. You are united, you are whole, and you are complete. Bringing your mind back to your breath, take a deep, gentle breath into your body. Notice your body, how it's feeling. Maybe wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Notice as you're coming back to your body. Take another deep breath in and exhale. And one more deep breath in and exhale. And when you're ready to come back, you can open your eyes and come back.
Thank you, Amy, so much. So what I would like to do is to invite you to put in the chat how that was for you. And we'll be talking a little bit about what just happened. Wow is the first comment. Excellent. A refreshing moment. Thank you for sharing. So much energy. That was awesome. So spiritual. That gave me chills. Thank you. Totally dizzy. Is that something that happens often, Amy?
Yeah, so you all might be feeling a various things. So you might be feeling chills, you might be feeling dizzy, you might feel nothing. Some people, I used to be one of those people that was like, that's great, I don't feel anything. Doesn't mean nothing happened, it's just where you're at, right? So no judging. And it's, you might feel lighter. So you might feel various things. So just be with that and notice if you're grounding deeper with yourself with that, and you might feel lighter. And I also want to remind everybody to drink some water to help the processing and integration from that, because the one thing this work is deep. It goes deep. Even though that was just like less than 10 minutes, it was like I was feeling the chills and the power from all of you, the collective, ready to release all that. So just be gentle with yourselves as you move into your day or your evening, and just notice how you're feeling and let yourself integrate. Just to be the observer of all of it, whether you have a reaction to it or a response to it. Just notice, be the observer, notice, connect with your heart, and yeah, drink a lot of water so that it lets the release and integration be easier.
And one thing also I want to invite you to do, and this is something that Amy suggested, is that continue to be aware of things that happen in the week or weeks to come. I had a major aha moment probably a week after Amy's session. And while I won't go into that there, it was very profound. And I do think that there was a direct connection to the work that Amy and I did together that day. So Amy, thank you so much. I think that that clearing for me is going to literally change my life. hands down. So one of the things that we'd like to do now is to open it up for questions. So see, Paris says, I noticed some things it was hard to release and let go. I wonder if you carry stuff for so long, you get accustomed to holding and carrying it. So there was a little resistance. How would you answer that?
Yeah, notice your body's only going to release what your body is willing to release. I cannot force anything off of you. So that could be true for you. So it doesn't mean nothing released. Maybe just a little bit of it felt safe to release. So that's a really great observation to notice and allow yourself to be with that. So your body's only going to release what you're willing to release. I can't force anything. That's the beauty of this work, that nothing can be forced. It's not aggressive at all. It's really
and then if there is something that you want to release and you don't feel like it has been released or it's not the time, you can certainly work with Amy down the road, or multiple times to release different aspects of what you're holding on to or those ancestral patterns. So do you have any links so I can expand on this more? So we will be putting some information to Amy's website. I'll send everyone an email right after this. Are there any other questions, or Amy, anything else that you want to leave with the audience this morning?
Oh, wow. I will say this too. If you like this collective clearing, my podcast, Inspired Conversations, they do healing vibes episodes that are collective clearing. So you can tap into those as well, which are pretty powerful as well. So if you wanted to check those out, and feel free to reach out to me. And if you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer anything about your experience today or anything. But I'm really grateful for you all to show up and be so open and be here to be in this conversation. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
So I do want to talk about Inspired Conversations. Amy has been doing her podcast for 6 years now and has over, how many podcasts have you done now, Amy?
I've done 509. You guys were my 509th.
Yay, I love that. So we're so honored to, Monica and I were so honored to be interviewed, and the podcast ran this week. So if you want to listen to Amy and see all of her amazing interviews, including one with Mariel Hemingway many years ago, and just a plethora of amazing conversations. And as you can tell, Amy's got a gift of being able to just express herself so well. And I was just so energized by our conversation, Amy. So thank you so much.